Hey, how's everyone doing? This is Oz with Oz Mechanics, and on today's video we got this 2009 Dodge Nitro right behind me. So this issue with this Dodge Nitro, customer was complaining after he drives for a while and he stops somewhere, he goes back in there and the vehicle won't start. It cranks but it just won't start. So how about in today's video we try to figure out this issue and give this vehicle back to the customer. All right, so we're inside the vehicle right now, and what we want to do is just talk a little bit about this. So this customer right here, he was noticing after he took a couple of test drives, he would come back to the vehicle, cranks it over, he notices that it just cranks but doesn't start. He went ahead, went to AutoZone, got it checked out, thought it was a sensor, but it wasn't it. And then after that, he took it to another shop, and now it's here. So right now what I want to do, we're going to go ahead, put the key in, and we just want to look at these codes and see what we got. All right, so these are the codes that we have right here. We have implausible left wheel distance, cooling system performance, and engine temperature sensor. All right, I don't think any of these codes have anything to do with it not turning on. What we want to do first, I'm just going to go ahead, clear those codes. And now what I want to do, I want to go test drive this. So we're going to go test drive this, see whether the codes pop up, and then we're going to go from there. Like I said, right now, we're barely getting in the vehicle. It turns on. It does stumble. I for sure hear that. Whenever he first brought it here, there's actually, it showed like a little lightning bolt right here, and normally that's for the throttle body. So we'll see what we find on that. Make sure that we actually did take off the codes. All right, now let's read the codes again. No DTCs. All right, let's go drive this vehicle and let's see what happens, and let's see what other codes pop up. So let's go take a little test drive, and then after that we'll come back and we'll check this out. All right, so we made it back to the shop, and check this out. There you go. That popped up right there. And normally speaking, the customer would say that that's when it starts acting up. As we can see, we have our check engine light. So let's look at the codes that we have right here. It's that cooling system performance. You can see right here that our coolant hasn't actually moved. So let's look at some data PIDs. Showing 116 right there. We have been driving just for a little bit. But what I want to do now, let's see if we can turn it on and turn it off. Here it goes. There you go. It won't start. Just it keeps on cranking over. All right, so now let's go to the front of the vehicle, see what we have. Want to make sure, do we have fuel? Do we have spark? What else? Front of the vehicle, see what we find out. So the main reason I want to check out the fuel pressure, because the previous shop was saying that for some reason that it was hyperlocking this engine right here. So what I'm gonna do, he said that there's too much fuel going into the engine, so I just want to check this out. We have our Schrader valve right there, so we're gonna hook up our fuel gauge right here. We're gonna see what pressures we have, and then we can just go off of there. So let's hook this up, and then we're gonna see what we get. All right, as we can see right now, let me zoom in just a little bit. We are at 0. Let me just kind of crank the engine over, and we're gonna see what we get. All right, it does go down a good amount. Now what I want to do is just kind of crank it over and see what's going on. We do see it's kind of high. Okay, but it does bleed down. But I can smell the excessive fuel right there. We do have fuel. And like I said, those codes are not really helping out right now, to be quite honest, on what it could or could not be. Let me show you right here, and this is probably with an implausible sensor code right here. Just want to take you right down. That's the temperature sensor right here. There's not a connector there. Just kind of want to do something. I'm just going to remove one of these, kind of lay them out there. Just want to see what happens. Just going to give this a try. Okay, it turned on now. Just turn it off, and then we're gonna try to turn it on again. And the thing what I'm doing, I'm trying to just give it gas. We're just gonna check out this spark plug. Kind of just curious how this sucker looks. My God, these are covered in gas. I gotta think outside the box, man. So right now we took out the spark plug. We saw it was completely fouled. So right now what I want to do is take out the fuel pump fuse, because we're gonna make sure that we're not getting any fuel in there, and we're gonna crank it on. So if we have some fouled spark plugs, hopefully it should turn on for a second. So I want to give that a try, and this is fuse number 25. I want to give this a shot right here and see what happens. All right, as you can see, it turned on and then turned off. So now what we can do is put this fuse back in here, and now that the spark plugs are a little bit cleaner, we can go ahead and give this a shot again. But the thing is, what's making me think outside the box right now, I'm trying to think, what's the chances of that sensor right there? So if we go inside and read it, all right, 39 degrees outside. Right now, I think it's about 60 degrees. Is it just asking for too much fuel then? And that's what's going on? Is it pushing it? Because I'm gonna give this another shot. Let's turn this on. We're gonna turn it off and on. Still, now it won't turn on. What's the chances of it just getting too much fuel in there? So right now it's just getting excessive amount of fuel in the system, or could it be that we just have an injector that's bleeding out too much? Now that's the question we gotta start asking ourselves. This is becoming pretty interesting right here. Place your bets, man. Let's see what we have here. All right, now we're at 62 degrees. That's what outside temperature is right now. Seems about right now. Man, this is kind of crazy. I'm gonna go test drive it, see if that comes back on again, because beforehand it would come back on, and I just want to see what we get from there. So something is basically flooding this right now, and that's not allowing us to get what we need, because as soon as we try to crank it over, it won't turn on until we remove the actual fuel pump fuse. Once we remove it, then it starts running again. So now we have to find out what's causing it to do that. Right here, our temperatures are pretty much heating up. Should be a lot hotter than that, I'll tell you this. But yeah, let me give it a little test drive, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna see if that light comes back on again, because right now she's good. So let's just give it a little test drive, see what we find out. Went on a little test drive, and that little lightning bolt never came up. And turn it back on, see what happens. All right, so she turns on without any issues. Now remember, so that little temperature sensor, it basically doesn't have a housing on the connector. So what I want to do, I'm going to set this up right here, gonna have you kind of lined up right there, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to touch those two wires, and then see if this comes up, and then see if we have that issue again, and see if it floods it. So I'm going to go to the front of the vehicle, kind of touch those real quick, and then we're going to see what happens after that. So let me set you up right here, go to the front, and then touch those. I don't know if we can catch that all together. Is at 118. I'm sorry if it doesn't get it, but I just want to make sure everything's caught. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and kind of just touch these together. I heard a difference. Fans turned on right there. All right, and as you can see, the gauge turned on, and this kind of changed just a tiny bit. But right there, that's where we have our lightning bulb. So right now, what I'm thinking is when we're driving, they're kind of making a little bit of contact. We're just gonna wait like about a minute, and we're gonna see what happens after this. All right, so that's a minute. And now what I want to do is go ahead, turn it on, turn it off, and turn it back on. All right, she turned on without any issues, and then the light went off. Let me try something else right here. What I'm doing, I'm just kind of shorting them together. Let's see what happens right here. So now what I want to do, kind of shorting them together, we have our lightning bulb right there. We can clearly see that that's the issue. Let me go give it a little test drive and then come back, and then we're gonna see what happens after I do that. Like I said, my theory to this is that it's not reading the right temperature, and it's just flooding this vehicle right here. So I want to go ahead, really check this out. So let's just give this a test drive. When we come back, we're going to see how this acts up, This is going to be about 2 little circles right here, and then we'll come back and we'll try to give this a shot. So we're back to the shop right now, and what we're going to do, we're going to turn off the vehicle right now. As you can see, it still has that lightning bulb. Turn it off. Let's just wait for a minute or so. All right, let's give this a shot. She's turning on now. This is kind of crazy, man. But like I said, I was kind of moving those 2 wires around right there, and right now we're at 136. And like I'm telling you, when I first did my first test drive, as soon as that sucker turned on right there, I felt a little difference. And then I came back to the shop, and it would just pop on real quick. So my thing on this one, with the codes that we have and what we're going through, I'm gonna go ahead and change out that connector right there. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the fix here. And let me go find one of those, make sure that we're putting the connector on the right location, and then we can be a-okay. And then after that, we're gonna do some other test runs and see what's going on, because right here, still, this is not reading anything. It's showing 140, but it's not reading our temperature right here. And that's where our codes are coming from. That's why we have the check engine light. So let me see if I can find this connector, and then we're gonna put everything back together and verify the fix. All right, so we're on the next day right now, and I bought the connector right here. When I opened this up, this is kind of crazy. A Mopar right there. So this is basically a dealer part. See, made in the United States, made in USA. If we look right here, this is violet and orange, and the other one is like a bluish color. For that, I want to know which wire goes to which side of the connector. So right now what I'm going to show you is how to check what side the connector is going to go on Mitchell right here. So we're going to check that out. We have our engine coolant temperature sensor, and connector number 1 is going to be a violet and orange, and then connector number 2 is going to be a dark blue and dark green. Now we can see which one's what. So the thing about this is going to be the back of the actual connector right here. 1 is on the left, 2 is on the right. We already fixed this up, so we put the brand new connector, and as you can see right here in the back, it tells us which one is number 1 and which one's number 2, exactly like on the wiring diagram right there. And remember, number 1 is going to be our violet, so I did say that I'm going to leave a little bit exposed. If anyone wants to do this in the future, they can actually check it out. Now what we want to do, this is the moment we've been waiting for. We're going to put this in place, and there it goes. It's nice and clipped. So let's go give this a test drive, but first let's take off these codes and see what happens. Now what we want to do is clear these codes. All right, awesome. Now let's go give it a test drive and let's see what happens. All right, so I did turn on the vehicle for a while, and it was reading good. It was about 68, 70 degrees when it was first turned on, because right now here in Houston is about 50. But check this out. It would drop down to 11 degrees, and now is still acting up. What's going on is that it's reading low temperature like that, and basically it's kind of making the vehicle run too rich, and that's what this is going on. What I'm going to change out to is going to be that low temperature sensor. The only issue with these is that they're made out of plastic, so this might be a longer job than expected. When these break off is not a fun job. I'm just going to be crossing my fingers right now that this temperature sensor comes out nice and it doesn't break, but most likely this is going to break, and yeah, this is going to be hectic right here. All right, there you go. I took it off. All right, so the thing is, what I did, I got my little heat gun right here, and this is from my soldering gun. So I got this little heat gun, and on top of that, I got a size 19, and what I was doing is I would heat it up and then slowly move it. Heat it up, slowly move it. Why did I do that? It's a little bit crazy, but before, I think I did a car a long time ago, and what happened is that I broke off right here in the head, and basically I had all the threads all the way down, and that was about a 2-hour job to kind of start breaking all this plastic away. I didn't want to do that, so I thought of something else, and I was like, well, let's heat up the side of the area, and then after that we can slowly but surely start removing it. So you're taking your time and trying to get that. If we look right here, let's see if we can really focus in right there. You can kind of see the nastiness in there. So I did order a new one, and we're gonna put that on, and then we're gonna refill up the coolant, and then after that we're gonna give it a test drive. And what we're gonna do, we're just gonna verify what the temperature reading is. But like I said, whenever I changed out this connector, we needed to do this because the connectors were actually touching. When I took that out, it started off at 60 degrees, because remember, it was kind of cold outside, but it did drop to negative 11. So now when we put the new one in, we're going to retest that out and then give it a nice little test drive and see how it goes. So let's put this new one in, and then we're going to retest it out. All right, there you go. Brand new sensor, brand new connector. Everything looks pretty good. How about we turn this on and see what we get now? And our engine coolant temperature sensor might be that hot because remember, we use that little heating gun right there. Heat this up. So now what I want to do, I want to go back, make sure that we don't have any fault codes. We just want to turn this off. Awesome. No more codes. All right, we're at 113. So let's go give this a test drive, see what we get, and hopefully after this we're gonna get that fixed. But I can tell you already right now, it is actually lifting above that little line right there, so I feel pretty good about that. And she's starting to go a little bit higher, so I feel pretty good about that. I think this is gonna be a pretty nice fix right here because it's starting to move even more. But let's go give this a test drive and let's see what we find. All right, we finished our test drive and check that out. This is working now, nice and beautiful. Readings, we're at 221, and let's see if we have any other codes. Yeah, implausible left wheel distance signal received, and that's all we have. And that's causing all these other codes right here. Now this is the moment of truth that I've been waiting for right here. She was driving beautifully when I was on the freeway. It was about a 30-minute drive. We have the key off right here. And I'm just going to wait about a minute. And after that minute, we're just going to verify if it turns on.
1 minute and 37 seconds later.
It's been, more than a minute. We're going to give this a shot and let's see what happens. So we're going to try to turn this on. All right, I almost really freaked out right there. I was like, why is it cranking and cranking? This almost freaked me out, but as soon as I took it off, I took a break and had to turn it back on, and it turned on. So then I started thinking, right, I put the camera down, and I was like, what is going on right here? But it got me thinking right here. Remember when we were checking out the fuel pressure? The gauge would actually drop pretty significantly. It was going down pretty fast. So right now, I actually let it sit for a little bit right now. So I've been talking for a good while right now, and it has been off. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cycle the key, and essentially what we're doing, we're just kind of giving more fuel to the engine. Because right now, remember when we did that first test, it would just drop pretty bad. So if we just cycle this a couple of times, you're going to see the lights turn on. Okay. We do it about 3 times, and we're basically priming it, and then she turns on. All right, awesome. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to kind of let it sit for a second. Let's just wait about 20 seconds. And what's going to happen, the fuel that's in the fuel pressure or the fuel rail is actually going to drop. So when we're trying to crank it on, it's going to happen like before. It's just not going to start because it's trying to build up that fuel pressure. Man, that almost got me scared. I almost had a heart attack right there. I was like, what's going on? We know we fixed up this issue because remember, back then I would just keep on trying and just would never work. Like I would try to turn it on and it just would never start because it was too saturated in fuel. Now we're not getting enough fuel. So we're going to go ahead. Now we just talked for a little bit. I'm going to try to turn it on and it's probably going to do the same thing. You see, it's not starting. But we take it off and then try it again. And there you go. It got enough fuel where it primed up. There you go. That almost freaked me out. I almost got scared. I was about to I was going to start crying now. But we have this going. So the next fix on this, but the customer's on the budget right now, but the next fix is going to be a fuel pump. And then after that, we'll see if we can fix up that issue with the left front wheel, and then we can get all these lights out, and this is going to be a nice, perfect running vehicle. So there you go. If you do like this video, please put a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that little notification bell to get all the brand new videos coming out from Miles Mechanics. Y'all take care. Y'all have a nice day. I'm glad y'all stuck with me, and we got this fixed. Boop. There you go. Y'all have a nice day.